I was 3 days from crashing on a friend's floor when I grabbed the wrong water bottle at sunrise, and the coldest man in Riverton looked at me like I'd stolen his oxygen, the lake still wearing a thin ribbon of fog, while my chest burned from running to outrun the eviction notice taped to my door. I lifted the sleek silver bottle without thinking, swallowed like a desert hiker, and a voice sliced the quiet, "That's mine." I froze, felt the weight of that expensive metal in my palm, and before my pride could drag me away, my mom's voice in my head said, "Notice the lonely ones," so I blurted, "Are you okay?" He stared like I'd spoken a secret, then said, "Keep it," and tried to walk away with that perfect control people in glass offices practice. But I saw it, that heavy thing behind his eyes, the kind you carry alone until it bends your spine. My name is Maya Brooks. 28 graphic designer with a real portfolio and $187 in my checking, and if you've ever smiled through panic to keep from crying in public. You know me, you know what I mean. 2 hours later, a knock rattled my studio. Not my landlord, thank God, but a tidy man in a slate suit holding a leather folio like it had a heartbeat. "Ms. Brooks, I'm Noah Park. I work for Mr. Sterling." It clicked the winter eyes from the lake. "He'd like to see you," Noah said, "and listen. I know you don't get in cars with strangers offering opportunity, but fear and hope are cousins who borrow each other's clothes, so 20 minutes later, I was in a back seat that smelled like new leather, staring up at Sterling Tower, stabbing the sky. On the 39th floor, glass marble museum art, I couldn't afford to pronounce, and then him, Graham Sterling, the Lake Run version, ironed into a navy suit, sun framing his shoulders like a director set the shot. "I had my office look into you," he said. "No apology, just the fact. After the incident at the lake, I wanted context." My cheeks went hot. He ran a background check because I took a sip, but his voice shifted half a shade. "Because you asked if I was okay." He slid a folder senior designer offer salary that made my rent look small, and when I asked why me out of 1,000, he said the line that stuck like a burr. 5 years ago, my parents died on their way to see me. I decided feelings were dangerous. I became efficient, untouchable. And this morning a stranger saw through the performance. Maybe I'm tired of the cold. Maybe I want to help someone before they freeze too. I wanted to interrogate every inch of that, the power, the timing, the part where he'd read my life like a spreadsheet. But Carver's notice was still on my counter, and sometimes a lifeline is a lifeline. So I said yes, and Noah handled the paperwork, while my heart learned a new rhythm. Day 1 on 22 felt like transfer student energy, glass partitions, screens buzzing, Dana Whitaker running creative like a pro, people trying not to stare because the boss who never hired personally had hired me personally, and by noon my nerves outran my sense, so I rode the executive elevator with 2 coffees like peace offerings. Noah blinked. "He doesn't take walk-ins," I smiled. "Then I'll leave it," but a minute later I was inside, and the look on Graham's face when I put black coffee on his desk was almost funny, like I'd set down a live grenade. "No one brings me coffee," he said, and I shrugged. Someone should, then sat without permission, because bravery and foolishness are cousins too. 10 minutes, that's all but a brick loosened. Then the next day another, and by Friday we had a rhythm. Noon check-ins. Easy questions, careful answers. He confessed he worked 80 hours so the penthouse wouldn't echo. He used to paint and hadn't touched a brush since the crash. He noticed I sketched thumbnails by hand and a box of pro pencils appeared on my keyboard, with no note. I wrote one back, "Thank you. You notice more than you let on. That's a good thing." And the reply on my monitor the next morning floored me. "Your coffee breaks are the best part of my days. Don't stop." Saturday. He asked if I liked galleries. I said, sure. Even though my version of like is free nights and cheese cubes and in that renovated warehouse with concrete floors, I watched him light up over brushwork and intention. The winter sky in his eyes turning almost silver. You really loved this once, I said. Still do, he answered soft. I just convinced myself wanting anything was dangerous, and later at a diner he listened to my layoff story, to my mom's one-rule code. Kindness is help you didn't have to give. And when he dropped me off, he kissed my knuckles like an old movie. Yeah, that happened, and it wasn't corny, it was human. Monday, I missed our coffee because a deadline ate my morning, and at 12:30, the entire creative floor went quiet. Graham Sterling, the roomer who never left 39, stood at my desk with 2 cups. Show me what you're working on, and here's the part that shocked everyone. He had real notes, not buzzword soup. Then in the elevator, I teased him for breaking his own myth, and he said, I'm tired of hiding like a self-appointed statue, and asked me to see something after work. North Star Commons, the community center. His parents rebuilt. Homework tables, a kitchen pot, big enough to feed a ship, an art room that smelled like paint and second chances. Ms. Delgado hugged him like a son who finally came home. A little boy begged him to paint. He hesitated. Looked at me, I nodded. And then the strangest thing happened. His face loosened clumsy, first strokes, then honest ones, and I had to swallow hard, because that's what thaw looks like, you know what I mean. The twist hit 2 days later. Harbor East imploded, the other CEO bailed, and I watched old Armor Graham snap into place. Get legal on the phone, he told Noah, that familiar ice humming under his skin, so I texted one line. If you scorch the earth, you'll salt your own roots, and 5 minutes later he called. What would you do? Listen before you swing. If they want partnership, offer partnership. If they want war, walk, and he did the unheard of thing for him. He asked the man why we lost, heard. We'd offered bigger numbers, but smaller trust, took the L with dignity, and set a follow-up for the next project. The board hated it. Of course they did, Victor Lang tapping his pen like a metronome for disapproval. We didn't build this company on soft hands, he said, and Graham stayed steady. We built it on value. Value is trust that buys not one deal, but the next and the next. Laid out a partnership-first framework. Shared upside transparency, community commitments that aren't PR. And the vote squeaked through for a 6-month trial. We walked out hand-brushing at our sides like 2 kids getting away with something. And I swear I breathed easier for the first time in years. At the Granite Hotel Gala, he made it public, stood at the podium, and admitted he'd been writing checks to avoid showing up. Pledged money and time, said one person's kindness thawed a heart he thought was stone cameras. Swung to me, and a finance bro tried to hijack him with big money tonight, and Graham didn't even break stride. Tonight's about the clinic, he said. If you want to work together, learn what we care about. Hand at the small of my back doorway, fresh air. Change lived in small things. After that, he walked floors, remembered names, snapped, less, apologized, more. And we made a pact in his kitchen with vinyl low and risotto on the stove. If I get cold, call me on it. If I pull away, wait nearby. Then one evening he showed up at my desk at 11:47 because he couldn't wait 13 minutes, and after work, he drove us back to Willow Lake where the bench wore simple flowers, took both my hands, and said the line that still makes me tear up. You didn't tear my walls down, you stood outside with a flashlight. Until I found the door. I want to spend my life choosing that door, knelt ring, elegant, not loud. Yes, spilling out of me before he finished asking. Dog walkers clapping a kid on a scooter, narrating our joy like breaking news. We told the company, at all hands, told North Star, where the kids showered us in glitter, that I still find in my shoes, planned a garden wedding, because vows should feed the place that fed us, And if the story ended there, it'd be neat. But life doesn't care about neat. A business journal ran an op-ed, Sleeping with Power, asking real questions about consent opportunity, the background check that started all this, and it punched me in the gut, because the world should ask those questions. He came into the kitchen already in fight mode. "Say the word, and I'll step back," he said, and we stood with our coffee in the kind of quiet that picks words carefully, then chose what we'd promised. Lead with connection. Tell the messy truth. He addressed the company, and the press said HR audited and rewrote policy, said I moved out of his chain of command the moment our relationship began, said. He regretted the background check, and the man who needed that kind of control is a man in recovery, now asked for accountability, not applause. Some people rolled their eyes. Some people said growth is changing when the mirror hurts. And here's what I know from inside the mess. Nobody rescued anybody. I brought coffee and stubborn hope. He brought resources and stubborn effort. We built something in the middle, and we're still building it. We still fight. He still reaches for cold when scared. I still get prickly when old shame whispers, I don't deserve this. And then we do the only useful thing, we call each other on it and try again, because most days love isn't fireworks. It's the decision to try again. So tell me what you see here. Did we do the right thing, or is it just a prettier story about power? Where's the line between help and control when a boss offers a lifeline? Is that background check unforgivable, or a human mistake you fix with real policy? Drop your take in the comments. Argue with me. Tell me what you've lived. And if you believe success without connection is just expensive, loneliness, hit subscribe and tell me where you're watching from. I'll be reading.